Well, hello everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome to the channel. Better Stan Leo here. So today on my Sportster 72 project, I'm going to be putting in these 4-inch over extended fork tubes. These are 39 millimeters, and this will be an interesting project for us. So let's get started here. But first, let me give you our scripture reading for today. John 14:6. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Okay, so today we're going to do the fork tube extensions on this guy. And the ones I got are 4 inches. I got them from Lowbrow Customs. And just to give you an idea, I mean, 4 inches doesn't sound like much, but this right here is about, what, 5.5 or so between the lip here and the bracket. And so what we're going to do is add another 4 inches. So, I mean, that's going to put that lip right there 4 inches further down. So that's going to be like down there. So 4 inches is, I think, about right. I didn't want to do the 6 inches. I thought that might be a little too radical. So first thing we'll have to do is get this brake caliper off here. And we're going to take that front wheel off. And then start pulling the fender out, and then the fork sliders. And you'll see I took those real silly, what do you call them, reflector things off of here. And so I'm going to sand these down and get it all polished up while I'm in the process. And the plan will be to go ahead and put new brakes on it. I'll need a new brake line anyway, so I'll probably rebuild that, get all that done. So this will be a pretty extensive project here, but we'll start with getting that front wheel off and the brakes, fender, pull those tubes out, and then we'll go from there. So I'm using a jack that I picked up from Home Depot. It's called a Vevor, V-E-V-O-R. It doesn't go completely underneath because of the kickstand here and everything, so, but it looks like it's going to be pretty stable, and it's got wheels on it, so I can move this guy around if I need to in the shop here. So just make sure you be careful when you're jacking your bike up. Okay, so these bolts here are 10 millimeter, but you need a 12 point because these are like really, it doesn't look like a normal socket. It has multiple points on it, but 10 millimeter, multiple points, and just break those loose, and we're going to take this guy out here. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not impressed with this jack. I've been fiddle farting around with this thing for about an hour just to try to get it on the bike so it's not going to tip over. Anyway, I stuck a 2x4 under here so I could get some better lift on it, but it's in a pretty good position now. So I think I'll be able to go ahead and start taking this front wheel off. But man, this jack is, I definitely don't recommend this thing. Okay, so now that I got the jack pretty stable and everything, we're going to take off the nut here to the axle, which is 15, in this case it's a 15/16. Just break it loose and it should come out. On the other side, there's an Allen and a bolt that we have to break loose. I guess it like locks it in place. I'll go ahead and get that done next. So over here we have a 5/16 Allen and a 9/16 bolt on the back here. Takes a little bit of pressure to get these guys off, so might want to get a ratchet Allen for this to get this guy to break loose and take this guy out. Okay, now we got that out, so we're going to go ahead and start taking the axle out. And I'm going to use so I don't mess anything up, I'm going to use a rubber mallet here and just kind of pound that out. And then you got to be careful with these spacers. There's a spacer on each side here of the axle, so what we're going to do is make sure we put the spacers in the same place, right? So when I take the axle out, I'll keep those spacers on the axle to make sure that I don't mess them up. So keeping everything together here, I got the spacer back on this side and the correct spacer that came off that side on the axle. And the washer is there. That goes on. The washer goes on the outside of the fork slider, but the spacer goes on the inside. So now I'm going to take off the fender here. This is a 1/4 Allen on this side, and it is a 1/2 inch bolt here. So you get 1/2 inch and a 1/4 on the Allen. So I got the fender off, and I like to make it a good practice of keeping things together so they go back the right way when you put them on. So I'm keeping the bolts on here for now. One thing I did notice is it is directional for front and the back of the fender, and the back of the fender has a little hole in the back here, but the front don't. So something to keep in mind when you put it back on. Alright, so front fender's off. Now is where the fun starts. So down here, actually in the back here, there's these drain screws, but since we're taking everything apart, I'm just going to leave them in. And underneath, when we go up underneath here, there's a 6mm hex head up under here. You can see it, but anyway, there's a 6mm hex head up in here that we have to get out. Hopefully it won't be too painful, but you're going to need an extended Allen ratchet to get up in here. Okay, so these guys are pretty tight in here. Turn your handlebars, get yourself some leverage on it, and then what I ended up doing was putting the fender back in here to get a little more stability to help me get this guy broken loose. But once you break them loose, they should come out pretty easily. This takes a little bit of a little elbow grease there. Okay, so we got our oil pan here, and we're going to take out the screws completely now, and then the fluid should drip out of here, the fork fluid, and we'll pump these sliders a few times to get the rest of the fluid out. But we'll go ahead and do that now. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just start doing these by hand and see if we can get them out here. And then get the bolt out. There we go. Yeah, look at that. It's probably never been done before. They say this little brass washer here, you're supposed to replace it. That should have come with the seal. That should have come with a seal kit. There's a little washer here. And take a look at your bolt. Looks good. It's not stripped out or anything. So we're going to go ahead and get this guy, get the oil out of here. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Just pump it a few times. Be careful. It's going to squirt out at you. And then, you know, we'll take this thing apart in a second. Alright, so there's a little notch here, and we're going to take a punch. I'm going to pop this guy out, real careful not to scratch anything. Pop this guy out. Once we get him up, there's going to be a dust cover, seal cover under there. We're going to pop that out, and then we're going to pull these guys down. Okay, so just by taking a punch and breaking it loose a little on there, then using a screwdriver, a straight slot with a hammer, just kind of be careful not to mess it up. But anyway, it's a good thing I'm doing these, because these are pretty, yeah, you know, they're pretty beat up. Now the next thing we're going to do is pop this guy out. This is the dust cover. We're going to take him off, and then we're going to pull this thing down. So do the same thing, get a screwdriver and pop this guy up. Be careful, don't scratch anything up. Okay, now that we got the dust covers loose, we pop them up. They hold the pieces in place here. You see, you can just push it up to hold this up out of the way. But down inside here, I don't know if you can see it very well, there's like this ring clip in there. And we've got to pop that out. Once we get that popped out, we should be able to pull these guys off. You just use a screwdriver and pop it out. You know, get on the sides of it. It comes out pretty easy. Just pull that out, and once we get that out on both sides, I'm going to start yanking these guys off, these sliders. Alright, so we got them out, and now what we should be able to do is we should be able to take these guys and just start pounding down on them, and it should pop off the slider. It takes quite a bit of pressure. As you can see, I'm pulling, starting to come out here. The seal's starting to pop out. Oh, there you go. Yeah, so just be aware. All right, so now we got those off. These things here are the seals. There's the seals here, and then there's these bushings here. You can take those off. They pop off with a screwdriver. This is the bottom piece that where it connects into. I forgot what they call it, some kind of bushing thing. But we're going to go ahead and pop all this off here, and then we'll pull down the seal. We'll get these bushings out, start cleaning her up, and then we'll get to the top here later. But I'm going to go ahead and start polishing out these sliders right now and get those all cleaned up, nice and polished up. That'll be my next project here. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and start taking these fork caps off. These guys are 1 3/8 inches or 35 millimeters. It's the same exact size. But you'll notice is that you can't use a standard socket because it's really close to the handlebars here, and if you put it, you wouldn't be able to get it in here, and then loosen it up and pull it out. So some people use a box wrench. I went to Home Depot, I went to Harbor Freight, I went to Lowe's. No one had a 1 3/8 or a 35 millimeter. Looked online, they were like 35, 40 bucks. So there's a tool that they make specially for this, and it's like a low profile socket. It's a 35 millimeter or 1 3/8. I mean, you can look it up. It's a low profile. You'll see it's really thin. It goes right on here, and then it's a 3/4 inch drive. Okay, now these guys can be anywhere between 22 and 58 foot-pounds of torque. So I had a pretty hard time. This one must have been at the higher end because it was. I ended up having to use a breaker bar, a good 24-inch breaker bar to break this guy loose. And so be prepared for that. But now what happens is when you go to screw these guys out, there's a spring in here. So that spring, you're under tension even though you don't have the wheel on or any of the other stuff connected. These springs are still under tension. So you're going to have to be careful when you go to unscrew this and take it out. So I'm going to go ahead and put a protection over the tank and everything before I start unscrewing it here. So we're going to start taking this guy off slowly, because from what they're telling me is that when you this thing is going to pop out. So don't put your face over the top of this or anything. Put some pressure on it. And just be prepared for this thing to pop out so that you don't get hit by it or anything. So you see it's coming out here. I think I may end up doing it by hand or try to, so that in case it does pop, it doesn't go flying off somewhere. Alright, so I loosened it up pretty good. I'm going to try to do it by hand now. So in case this thing decides to go popping off somewhere, I'll have some, I'll be able to catch it by my hand, hopefully. It won't go off too far. There you go. That wasn't as bad as I thought. No, that wasn't bad at all. It really wasn't too bad. But, looks like they got some spacers in this one. Yeah, that wasn't too terrible. I thought it would be worse than that. I was expecting it to really pop out, but that's it. Okay, now that we got that off, we're going to go ahead and loosen these guys up so we can pull the fork tube out. This is a Torx 45, And this is these aren't too bad. These came off. These are coming out pretty easily. So we're just going to loosen these out, and then we're going to pull the we're going to go ahead and pull the fork tubes out. Now, one of the things I want to take note of is about how far the lip is here. When I go to put the new tubes in, I want to keep this level on both sides, this thickness, this gap. So we're going to take a measurement here and see about how far up this is from the edge of the triple tree here. So make sure you get them both up the same height. Okay, so we got our fork off now, and we're going to start taking it apart. On this model of Sportster, there's a 4-inch spacer in here, right from the factory. And then we're going to start taking the springs down. There's a washer here to protect us from the spacer. When I go to replace this, I'm going to have to add 4 inches to it with some PVC pipe to make up for the 4 inches that I'm using to extend the forks. So there's our spring, and we're going to pull our damper rod out of here. Let that go over here. Okay. And there's our damper rod. Spring there. Okay. And of course, we got all our pieces here now to take off. We're going to replace all these washers. These seals. When you take this one off, you got to be careful because there is it is directional on this guy when you go to put it back on. One way to remember or to realize is there's letters on this top piece. So when it goes on, the letters have to be up. And then we have our bushings down here, which we're going to take a screwdriver and peel these guys off, and we'll put those on the new forks. So we'll just take a screwdriver here and pop these guys off. And they should come off pretty easily. There we go. Alright. Try not to block the view of the camera there. And that one goes up there. Alright, so let's get our new fork in here. So I got these fork tubes from Lowbrow Customs. They did very helpful at the site there. And this one has a new bushing on it, which is nice. So I'll be able to have a new bushing there. And then I also got a kit from them. Kyle was very helpful in getting me the right parts. I got this gasket sealer kit. And this has all the pieces in here. It's got the seals, the dust covers, washers, clamps. It also has the O-ring for the fork cap. It even has the washers in here for the bottom piece that goes in here, the little brass washer. So I'm going to go ahead and start putting this guy together now. Alright, so I already replaced the O-ring here. I replaced the brass washer for down here. And I'm going to go, I already put the bushing back on up here. I'm going to go ahead and put this guy back in the tube now. And I'm just going to have to let it slowly go down because you don't want that spring to kind of fall off. There we go. That's all in there. Alright, and then we're going to put a little fork oil on here. We're going to put our new seals and our new washer here and our new seals on top of that. Okay, so I just put a little fork oil on here, put the new washer on, the new seal, and I've got my dust cover on here. Actually, I gotta hammer this in first, so we better take these off. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use a fork seal to seal this into the to the lower. So we're gonna leave that like that for now. We want to get this guy bolted back into the lower, which is going to be a little tricky. And we got to put our our little end cap on here, and now we're going to hook up the lower to it. So when we're putting the lower in, we're going to just take our time with this guy, because you don't want the stuff to fall apart. So we're going to just kind of stick it in here slowly and put it together like this. And we're going to put the bolt in here on the bottom. We're going to screw it in kind of lightly, and then we'll tighten it down later. Okay, so we put that back in there, and now we're just tightening it down here to get it, hand tight for right now. And what I'll do later is I'll tighten it once I get the forks on the bike. I'll tighten it down really, really good and tight. But right now, I just want to get that started and get it, somewhat tightened up. So it is in here now. Okay. So now we got to get our fork seal tool, and we have to start pounding down this seal in here. So I got this fork seal tool off of Amazon or eBay, one of those. I think it was Amazon. And you're just going to put it in here, and what you want to do is you want to hammer this guy down. There's a little groove in here that we want to get past so we can put that ring in there. So I'm going to go ahead and start pounding this guy down in here until we can get it seated. So this is no easy task. All right, start again. So this is no easy task. I mean, you have to really pound it pretty good with a tool. But the idea, it's gonna be hard to see in this video. There's a little groove down there where that clip goes in, and you have to get that seal past that groove so the clip will fit in there. But yeah, it takes some pressure to push it, to get it down in there. Some people do it with masking tape, or not masking tape, electrical tape or something. They wrap it around the tube. That's one way. Another way is to get a piece of PVC that fits, but I just went ahead and got the tool. It was cheap, it didn't cost that much. Plastic, there's more expensive ones out there, but you can get it. It just takes time, got to be patient. So now what we want to do is get this clip. Down inside here into that groove. And it'll probably take a little persuasion with a screwdriver or something, but we're gonna work on that next. That wasn't too bad. It just took a little bit of fiddling around with it and getting the screwdriver in there to get the piece to snap into that groove. Once it snaps in there, then you're good. So we've got this guy together now. We can start putting our dust cover back on and the decorative cover on top of that. Okay, so now I'm going to use the same procedure. You can try to push it on by hand, or you can use your tool to push this dust cover back into place, and that's what I'm going to do now. Go ahead and give it a couple of whacks and get it in there. Okay, so that wasn't too bad. Just took a little bit of persuasion, if you will, with the tool. You probably noticed that I was able to get these cleaned up pretty good. Sanding them down quite a bit with I took the route of 200, 400, 600, 800, and 2000, and then I'm going to polish them out with the mothers, and they should be pretty shiny by the time I'm done. But that was a whole nother project in between getting this guy together. So anyway, now we're going to go ahead and put the decorative cover on the top here, and we'll start putting this guy together. So I spoke with Kyle at Lowbrow Customs, and he says, for the spacer, PVC pipe about 3/4 inch should work fine. This is the original 4-inch. I added 4 more inches to it, so it's twice as long. I'm going to put this in place of this guy, and then you'll put our fork caps on there and tighten down, our spring and everything, and our washer between these two. Put our spring in there, and then tighten down the bottom nuts, and we'll fill her up with fork oil and put our fork caps on. But this is what I'm going to end up doing here. So one of the tricks they tell me to do is that when you go to put this guy together, it's going to be under pressure, and it's going to be hard to figure out where this thread starts. So what you should do is just find a spot right where it starts. So when you go to push this thing down, you'll know you're in the right spot, and then mark it right where it's going to start. So we'll go ahead and put a mark on here, so we know it starts here, and a mark on the tube here, and that'll give us an idea when we go to put it back together under pressure where we should start. So I'm going to go ahead and put my spring in here, and the washer piece, that little washer, and then we're going to put our spacer in. We're going to get this guy in here. Right? Okay, now what we want to do is, the reason I want to tighten this up now a little bit is because I got to get that bottom bolt tightened down really good. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on, tighten it down, and then we'll tighten the bottom. We'll put these forks back on the bike, and then we'll tighten that bottom bolt down. I'll take this back off, and I'll put the fluid in and put the cap back on. Okay, so I got her on here. I got it tightened up pretty good there. Put some pressure on that spring. And now we're going to go ahead and go down here and put in the, tighten up this 6mm down here on the bottom. Because there's no torque settings on this in the manual. I didn't see anything here on how tight to put this thing. So you just have to just get it as tight as you can, I guess. That's what they say. Just tighten it down real good, and that's about all there is to that. Okay, so I was able to get the fork on there and tighten it down on the bottom using the the braces to tighten it in there. Got it on the bottom real tight. So now all I got to do is add my oil. I'm going to go ahead and, on this model, it's 12.4 ounces of oil in each fork. I'm going to use the Type E for this bike, heavy duty fork oil, and we'll put 12.4 ounces in each side. Button it back up. Like I said, make your mark so you can start it. Once you get it started, you're in good shape. We'll start torquing these guys down once I get them on the bike, and we'll be ready to getting the wheel on here pretty soon. So I'm going to go ahead and add the fork oil now. Alright, so now we got our fork tubes back in here, and we're going to go ahead and torque these guys down between 30 and 35 foot-pounds. We'll go ahead and torque those up, and then we'll do the fork cap after that. Alright, so we got these all torqued down now. This was at like 50 up to 50 foot-pounds or so, and then these guys were at 30. So make sure you kind of double check these, because you don't want these forks slipping on you. And I went ahead and put my, my fender back on there as well. So we got the fender back in place here. These are only like 96 inch-pounds, so they're only like 8 foot-pounds. Really not that tight, not too bad. And now I'm going to go ahead and get the axle on here and the wheel. Put that on next. So I went ahead and cleaned the axle off. I'm going to put some grease on it before we put it back together. And then slide all the pieces in, keeping the spacers in the same location. And slide her back in. Okay, so we got the axle back on here, and the wheel and spacers all in the right place. And what we want to do is we're going to torque this guy down until we get to 60 foot-pounds. But what you want to do is, on the opposite side of this, you want to put I'm putting a Allen wrench in there. There's a hole there on that side to hold it, hold in place while you're torquing it down. So we're going to go ahead and torque this guy down now to 60 foot-pounds on this model. 2012 is, according to the manual, is 60 foot-pounds. Alright, so now we're going to put our pinch bolt in on this side and torque it down to 30 foot-pounds. Alright, so next step is going to be putting the caliper back on, but I decided, since my forks are extended now, the brake line won't reach anymore, so I'm going to put a new brake line in here from Lowbrow Customs also. I'm going to put new disc pads on here as well. And I'm going to go ahead and do that. Before I put the caliper back on, I'll put the new disc pads in, and then we'll put the new line in and we'll bleed it out and get that all buttoned up. So we got the new brake pads in, and I'm putting the caliper on now, and these are those 10mm bolts, 12 points. These have to be torqued down to 30 foot-pounds also. Okay, so there she is, all done with the 4-inch overs on there. And what a difference, my goodness, it makes a huge difference in the height and the lean angle. And when you bike, when you go to put the kickstand down, it really leans over quite a bit. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy with the way it turned out. And the brake line kit looks like it worked out pretty good too. Everything from Lowbrow Customs. So hats off to them. I just wanted to do some shots here of before and after so you can get an idea of the difference between the forks mainly. As you know, in the other videos, I did the tank lift and the coil reload, and now I've done the forks, and just wanted to show the big difference between the two. 4 inches just doesn't sound like a lot, but it really is a lot, and it does make quite a bit of difference in the feel of the ride. Not so much cornering, but you're much higher up in the front end, of course. It doesn't seem to be like the handlebars and everything are the same distance and all. It's just that you're up in the air a little more now. So, but when you look at it here, you see the forks are sticking out quite a bit there. And then compared to here, where it was originally. And let's take a look at the other side. On this side, you can see a little bit better with the tank lift and the wire wrapping and the wire tuck and the coil reload and the ignition reload made all that room underneath there a lot cleaner. And then up here in the front, when you look at it, you see that the lean between here and then now with it extended, it's quite a bit of difference. So just wanted to throw that in here at the end, but I'll put links down on the bottom for you. These were, all the parts were Lowbrow Customs. I also did the brake line. The original brake line wasn't going to be long enough anymore. So I got the brake line kit and the fork tube extensions from Lowbrow Customs. And the next piece will be working on the rear fender, which is pretty bad shape. I got a new fender also from Lowbrow Customs, and I'll be painting it and getting it on here. And then I got the seat coming in from Sully Custom Seats. But that should be taking a few weeks. So we'll keep you posted, and tell me what you think. If you like what's going on here, do a subscribe and a like, and give me some comments. Thank you very much for watching. God bless.